So hi everybody, how's it going? Mork here, and today I'll be talking about specifically the team members or the warband members of the Sisters of Sigmar, and I'll be ranking them in the tier list for Mordheim Paramod. Yeah, and I guess we're gonna be starting right away with the matriarch. So regarding Sigmarite matriarch, I think she's like one of the best started um best started how would I say it, person, no, not really a person, like she has amazing stats is what I'm trying to say, and I mean it in such way that she's not only able to easily hit, like for example 20 intelligence, she's also able to hit quite easily 19 weapon skill, and she's also able to hit, what do you call it, 20 toughness, quite relatively easily. And she's also like I think she's also like a very good heavy armor slash hardy user. But the deal with the Sigmarite matriarch is that you don't necessarily want to go for armor proficient. It might be better for you to just grab the knowledge Mordheim mastery to make up for the difference between like the movement speed. Yeah, or the other alternative for you is to actually grab knowledge Mordheim basic and armor proficient basic. Knowledge Mordheim also gives you like the possibility to be more flexible with the character, so it's you can also go for a possible light armor route when you feel like it, so it's also pretty convenient. Maybe like one thing that I wouldn't do for Sigmarite matriarchs is get like any order on her. I don't think like order really makes sense. I think you can just I think there are like two, in my opinion, good Sigmarite matriarch builds. Like you can make like a comet spam Sigmarite matriarch, but in that case, what you want to do is quick prayer. You want to grab quick prayers, so you want to like cast the comet, then do a basic attack, then cast the comet, then do a basic attack, then cast the comet, and do a basic attack. It also has like a pretty good, relatively good starting spell. It's relatively good because you can like stack it with the mastery version, which you can like get it on different characters, or you can also just get that mastery on the matriarch herself. It's also a possibility. A different build that you can also do is like this sort of a cheerleading build, which focuses on restoring offensive points to your characters. 99% of the time is going to be like the Maiden of Sigmar. You can also just build her like completely heavy armor with like even more armor. And you're also able to get like plus 40% magic resistance if you want. So you can like make her very tough against all kinds of threats. So honestly, I feel like this character just belongs in the God tier, and it's not related to the Sigmar. I think it's just related to her stats. The next character that we have is actually this one. It's the Sister Superior, if I'm not wrong. And basically, like Sister Superior ability is that you're able for free SP target any close units to you and give it like +2 movement speed for 3 rounds. So this is like obviously it's really powerful. Uh, and what do they say? Essentially, what this allows you to do is to create out of your other warband members basically Skaven, and Skaven is extremely powerful in my opinion because of their movement speed, and maneuverability that they have in Mordheim. So with Sister Superior, I think you can also just like build her in a bunch of different ways. I think she also can be kind of built with like knowledge Mordheim. Uh, and also like basic armor proficient or like knowledge Mordheim mastery. I think that's also possible. I think there are like different builds you can do. You can either do like a sort of a supportive playstyle with Sister Superior, which just kind of like focuses on buffing your units and just kind of like helping your other carries do the carrying, I guess. And just like trying to control the battlefield. I mean, that's kind of what I was playing in the tournaments as well with Master Intimidate. I was just like intimidating everybody while just also like giving to everybody movement speed. I think one of the most important skills you should probably get on this character is meditation. And it's because if you spend time like buffing all your units for higher movement speed, you're gonna end up like in a situation where a lot of the times you are just unable to, how would I say it? You are unable to keep up with the rest of your warband. So that's why I would kind of just recommend it. Also, this hero is shared with all the other warbands, and in the other warbands, I can imagine that this hero will be also like very good. Like I can see this being a very good hero for the mercs. Like imagine you buff an ogre with this. Like suddenly you have a 9 movement ogre, which is terrifying, honestly. Or that you buff like the archers, right? You buff the archers or you buff the warlocks, but they have like +8 movement speed and you just spend your skill points on something else. Yeah, and also like I think it just kind of makes sense as a support unit also for the warlocks because you're able to have like Sigmarite warhammers reducing like the magic of the target. So it's just making it like more easier for your warlock to do damage and stuff. Also, I think with this character, you're able to create a damage dealing Sister Superior, kind of like focuses on frenzy and stuff. That's also like one of the possible ways to take this character somewhere. Um, I think I'm just gonna like put her. I'm not sure if I want to like put her in the insane category because the potential of like swarm can be kind of insane that you can do with this character. Or if I just like want to put her into something like really good. Okay, I guess. I guess it just kind of like depends, like what kind of Sister Superior playing. Like I can definitely see like a lot of. I think I would say most of the builds for Sister Superior or like how people build her. I think they would be like maybe okay or kind of bad. And I think that she is like a very tricky character to build for sure. But do I want to like put her into insane or really good? I suppose I'll just put her into like the really good category for the reason that while her active ability is completely crazy bonkers, she herself is not as impressive as other characters, I guess. Alright, next character that we have is Sigmar Purifier. So this character is like the second spellcaster of the sisters. And honestly, yeah, that's also like one thing that we haven't discussed for the Sigmarite matriarch and why she's also God's here. Also because she has like access to Healing Circle. And there are sometimes like situation where healing circle can be like completely devastating and game winning against opposite warbands, or can just bring somebody from brink of death and just like make them come back into the game. And that's kind of like also the deal with the Sigmar purifier. I think one of the things that you definitely want to get on Sigmar purifier is the threat of the healing circle that you might be able to heal your team. And the thing about this character is, I think she's also like a very tricky character. Her passive says that when she charges somebody and she attacks them, she breaks the stance of the character. So I think she's like also like a very good candidate for Swift Charge. I think like if you want to play like Sigmarite Purifier, Swift Charge is the way to go. And she's also like a tricky character because she has a thing where she's immune to all alone, but she cannot disengage from people. So in my opinion, like you should be playing the purifiers as damage dealers, so that you kill the target fast and you're able to move. Like the way for you to disengage with Sigmar Purifier is by killing your target. So whoever she sets her eyes on, she should be able to kill them. And I think there are like different builds for her. The build that I was playing was like Daredevil spellcasting hybrid. The logic here was that if there was like an enemy that I wasn't able to successfully Daredevil because they had like, for example, too much dodge, I'm gonna be able to swap to Sigmarite Great Hammer, which has the possibility, it's like basically an innervation rune. There's like a 50% chance that you're gonna get like 1 OP back. And one thing that I had to learn with the Warhammer, initially I thought that the best way to play this sort of a character would be actually stacking the Innervation rune and the Warhammer so that you have like plus 50% chance to regain offensive points twice. But the issue of this sort of an approach was that you are generating too many offensive points to the point where you were not you were like reaching too high of a number of divine wrath. So god damn it, this my camera like stopped working. Yeah, I guess it stopped working. Hello, camera. All right, it seems to be working now. I didn't even notice when it like started happening. Anyway, I'm talking about purifier. So yeah, I kind of just played like a Daredevil build, and yeah, if I was not able to actually beat the dodge, you would just swap to the Warhammer and you would just start spamming the comets, and try to get as much damage as possible this way. For the head enchantment, then I think because she has access to the Warhammers, which give you that 50% chance of getting like any offensive points back up upon casting, I think you're actually just much better off for going headgear wise for the plus 20% spell damage. I think that's what the Warhammer allows you to do, to go for that 20% spell damage enchantment on your. Also, another thing is like the terror resistance for this character. Like, I don't think it's as necessary because she is that spellcaster. So sometimes you are, even if you like lose a terror test, it's sometimes completely fine because again, your spellcasting is not affected by terror. It's just your hit chance with the weapon skill. So that's completely okay. I would say she's like insane, but honestly, I think she's just kind of. It's a tricky thing to play, and I don't think it's like very easy to play. You're also able to play her as like the sort of a cheerleader. You're also possible. It is also possible for you to go for like the hardy route for this character, but like if you want to do that. And like another thing, what you can do with this character is just set up your other characters. And I think that would be like a very good idea to do. So like for example on initiative, let's say you want to kill somebody who is in a Web of Steel mastery, like for example the captain. You would like to set up your initiative in such way so that your purifier goes first, then afterwards goes the maiden. So purifier charges in with swift charge, makes the hit, connects the hit, and destroys the stance web of steel. The target is basically set up for maiden to come in and clean it up. Oh, also like another amazing thing about this character is like spell weaving. And what do I mean by this? Quick prayer, I think it's like a necessity on this character. I think it works really freaking well. You are able to, for example, attack, go for a quick prayer on the comet, and for the last two offensive points that you have, we're gonna be quick prayering again for the last, I guess. So I'm gonna like put her honestly in just like a really good category, but just like Sister Superior, I think she's like tricky to play. Yeah, so I think that's why they are kind of like in the same tier. While the matriarch I think is just like more or less straightforward. Honestly, Sigmarite matriarch is also like very tricky to play. I think like most of the sister characters are very tricky to play. Alright, next character that we have is the Ogre. And we have actually like two different versions of the Ogre, so I'm just gonna like put them in without like necessarily giving them the rating just yet. Maybe let's talk about like the stats of the Ogre. So Ogre overall has like amazing stats because she has a very easy time getting to like 20 agility, and she has also a relatively easy time to getting to like 15 alertness. Like she's also like the best mental stats in the game. It should be relatively easy for you to get like 15 leadership or master serenity. Overall, I feel like sometimes I see people building out of Ogre like damage oriented character. I think she's just not a damage oriented character at all. I think she's always, no matter what, she should be a melee resistant tank, whether she's this one or whether she's this one. And she can be extremely powerful against any potential like demons or against any like enemy impressives. Can be extremely powerful. What are the best counters against Ogre? Well, we have the Rune of Perseverance, which like slowly gives you like more higher hit chance the more you miss. Also, like another cool thing about Ogre is that you can make an almost impossible to kill Ogre, but you can't. Even when I made like an almost impossible to kill Ogre, it was killed anyway, due to luck, you know. But you can make an almost impossible to kill Ogre, which has like incredibly high range resistance, has an incredibly high melee resistance, and which has an incredibly high magic resistance. Um, and that's really powerful, you know, to have like this sort of a character. But at the same time, you might have her stack on something that is not entirely relevant, I guess. Or if the enemy doesn't have like an impressive or not facing a demon, it might not be good enough. But for example, in PvE, I think I would always grab this character just in case, you know, just in case you're gonna be facing any potential demons or enemy impressives. It's just the trickiness in use in a PvP scenario. So, and because like my sort of a thing is more PvP rated, I think I'm just gonna give her like a good rating, honestly. The biggest issue that the hero version of the Ogre has is that she has like a hard time making effective use of her offense points. The leader Ogre actually doesn't have that issue, but what the leader Ogre has the issue instead is because you can, with the leader Ogre, you're able to make like an Order leader, and she's like a great Order leader. But the issue is that you have to take 2 passive slots to make her work, which otherwise would be used for that melee resistance or for additional magic resistance or additional range resistance, which this Ogre has like access to. But this one doesn't have the access to that luxury. So you're gonna have to take as a leader Ogre. You're gonna have to take Born Leader, and then you're gonna also have to take Battle Tank, and you're gonna be basically having basically have like 2 passive slots to work with, and that's kind of awkward. Ideally, you would want to grab the Shield Specialist, the Alertness one, which I forgot, but it's plus 15% melee resistance, and Serenity, so like 3 of these. But you can't do it with the Ogre leader. So I'm hoping that in one of the patches there will be that change where the Order is gonna be costing just 3 offense points, because it's gonna help a lot this Ogre leader, I guess, what I'm saying. And I'm gonna also just leave her at good. So these are the characters. I think the next one is the Maiden of Sigmar. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and like put her into the insane category. She's a spellcaster, but I think the best way to play Sigmarite matriarch, no matter what, is like play her as a melee damage. I don't think you ever want to do with Sigmarite matriarch. Sorry, with the maiden. I don't think you ever want to do with maiden any comet span builds. If you trigger the divine wrath with her, and if you roll something really bad, it's almost like you rolled divine wrath, a bad divine wrath for 2 characters, because this is impressive, right? And it can be like incredibly brutal for you to get 999, but like, so I wouldn't be building comets on this unit. I think you can also possibly get the healing circle, which could be nice on this character, but you should always, 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 always get the quick prayer on this character. It doesn't matter if you get like the mastery quick prayer or if you get the basic one. Both are fine, but you should always get quick prayer on this character. And how I played this character basically in the Bob tournament was basically like a glass cannon maiden, which was like very prone to dying if she got like caught off guard or something, or 2-turned. She would just die, more or less, basically. But yeah, no matter what, you should be always getting like quick prayers, because quick prayer allows you, like Maiden of Sigmar has a passive in Paramod where all of her spells are reduced by 1 offensive point. What quick prayer does is that it reduces further spells by another 1 offensive point. So you're able, with Maiden of Sigmar, in the middle of the fight, you're able to cast like easy to cast spells, like such as where is it, like Sigmar Smite, you know, or Blessing of Athleticism. You're able to cast it with your SP instead of OP. And I played like a glass cannon build because I was also playing it with an innervation. So I'd be doing like a quick prayer, and there would be like a 50% chance if I manage to do a cast, I will be able to get one offensive point back. Another thing that I was doing with this character, I call it was safe casting. I don't think you should ever go like hard with your spells unless you're completely desperate. With Maiden of Sigmar, you should do like 3 casts maximum. The first spell can be whatever. The second spell can be also more or less whatever. But I recommend like any of these cheap spells. And the last spell that you're going to cast always should be some sort of a basic version of a spell. So either like basic Blessing of Athleticism, basic Sigmar Smite, or basic Sinful Speech. And this third cast has only like 5% chance to trigger Divine Wrath, which in my opinion is not relevant enough, so don't worry about that. But yeah, it's just like a very nice way of, how would I say it, of casting spells in the middle of the combat. I think there are also, god damn it, is it again? Okay. Why is my face so funny? Sorry. Why did it put me on like such a freaking weird? Why did it put me on like such a fucking weird pros and stuff? It's the second time this happened with the stupid camera, and I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know, I'm just touching it for no reason. Maybe it's like not connected properly, but it should be. This is just frustrating. It's gonna look fucking terrible in the video, it's fine. Yeah. Also, like, this sort of a character is not as good as you think. She has access to spells, which is neato, and she has that reduction and stuff. You always have to go for armor proficient on this character, and this is like one of the downsides of the character, in my opinion. Another thing about Maiden of Sigmar, I don't think you should ever go for Frenzy because of the spellcasting thing that we have for Maiden. And yeah, is there anything else? Hardy, I don't think it's like a necessity. Oh, right, resilient. There's also like another thing, another tax that you have to pay for this character. It doesn't really have like high enough toughness naturally. I think in some way you should try boosting your critical resistance. You can either do it with your weapons, with luck runes, or you can do it with the resilient thingy. And for the weapon choices, I think you can. It kind of like depends on what your warband specializes in. You can either go for 2 Sigmarite warhammers if you're doing like a daredevil build with a swap to daggers, or I think if you're not specializing in that, when you just want to do like melee damage, then I recommend double hammers with a swap to double daggers. And that should be like pretty good for 2-turning any potential 2-turns and stuff. And I think that's about it for this character. I mean, I don't really have anything else to do. Yeah, she's like very good, but she has like weaknesses. Yeah. And if you're playing in like a tournament and they allow you to bring consumables, you should always, not always, but like you should always consider bringing the talisman, because talisman is that strong and stuff. All right, let's move on to the henchmen. We'll talk about the DLC characters at the end. And we're gonna start with the sister. And yeah, regarding the sister, so what does she do? So when she grabs like a word stone, she gets +4 movement speed for 3 rounds. So this is obviously like really powerful. You're also able to stack this sort of a movement speed charging, like knowledge Mordheim and stuff. It's just like, I think the reason why sisters are able to be like the sort of a swarmy warband is because of that ability. So whenever you are deploying sisters in the battlefield, you should just have them as close as possible to any sort of a wordstone pickup spots, and you want them to grab a wordstone as soon as possible so that they trigger their passive. And they have like that high movement speed. The sisters also make like pretty good scouts, because if I'm not wrong, the area around the sister with the perception, it's based off the movement speed. So that's also like a sort of a character I built in the tournament. Was a scout, which had like, which was able to scout effectively all the hidden units of the enemies. And I think like scouts are very underrated in my opinion. But I think they're also like very important for highly aggressive warbands, so that you get like as much information as possible about where each of the enemy warband members are, so that you're able to counter that accordingly or prepare accordingly. Yeah, and like the movement speed is basically like more or less insane. With this sort of a character, I think you should like either like make her like a parry tank with Web of Steel, or you can also just make her like a heavy armor tank. I think it's completely okay to just give her like the basic parry. The basic parry. That's like good enough. Yeah, and like basically you just come up to somebody, you hit them, and once you take like enough damage, you might be still at like 200 health or like 100 health. So for this sort of a character, you like stacking as much health as possible, because it will make your, if for some reason this character survives, and you're able to heal, circle of healing this person in your swarm, I like it's gonna be amazing, right? So yeah. The next character that we have is actually the LGT version of this character. And honestly, I don't know why you would. Why would you like go for it? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what you're getting out of this. This seems like a worse, maybe like Sister Superior, or definitely worse than Purifier, because she's not even spellcasting. And if you're playing like a melee resistance tank, then this is not like a way for you to go. So I don't know. I just think the LGT version of the sister doesn't really bring or offer anything to the table that is interesting enough. So I think I'm just gonna like put this into the bad category, and that's okay. I think it's completely okay to have like LGT characters which don't really do much, or maybe like have LGT characters which are not as impressive, but they might be able to help you with the early game. get through the early game because they're relatively cheap. All right. Next character that we have is the Novice. Novice as a character is kind of interesting. Novice is probably the best dodge tank in the game, and probably the best counter to any Daredevil builds because she is able to generate high amounts of dodge. Ironically, one thing about the Daredevil uh, that is anti-novice is that you're easier to hit. And you don't want to hit with your novice, you want to miss your attacks. That's kind of interesting. Also, I think always with the novice, you should be only getting like a 6 weapon skill. You should put all of the points into the accuracy to do as much missing as possible. And if you happen to get any hits in that case, you are able to get, what do you call it? But I'm like a fucking person who forgets things. Maybe I'm like developing Alzheimer's at this point. Yes, to get as much Christians as possible. Thank you, Para. Yeah, because like might as well, you know, if you're gonna be hitting somebody, then you know, let's maybe try to roll for a crit. Um, and you're able to like stack it with the sister buffs. But the issue is, I think this character is like very tricky. Like sometimes you just like this character sometimes just like straight up dies, you know, and there's nothing you can do. Like she just dies either like to magic or like to ranged attacks. But you are able to actually make her relatively resistant to magic, relatively resistant to range, but then she also becomes more vulnerable to other forms of like the melee resistance stuff. So I like playing her mostly as like the sort of a dodge tank, which is combining like serenity, kind of like a beggar or like a poor version of the ogre, I guess. That makes sense to me. Another thing about this sort of a character is you can also build you can combine it with the shield of recovery, I think it's called. So that like whenever you dodge, you get +2 offensive points. And that allows you to do another attack, which might hit and might crit or might miss, and you get like even more dodge. Oh, and for the mastery, the novice mastery. Again, I think it's like redundant. Like I'm playing like a poor man's version of the ogre. Like why would I ever go for this? When I can have like an ogre with 1 million melee resistance, right? Why would I do it? And the more I think about it, the more I don't know. So I think this is also just kind of bad. Actually, I think I would just straight up put this into bad category. Um, Technically speaking, yeah, it allows you to do like even more attacks. Maybe one thing to mention with the novice here, she's also like can be used by other warbands, and I think she's like pretty damn good with in the combination with warlocks. The warlocks are able to pierce 30% magic resistance, but if somebody else has like more magic resistance, or if somebody is using talisman, which is 40% magic resistance out of nowhere, like Novice is the sort of a person who, with a Sigmarite Warhammer, is able to strip off that. So last two characters that we have, one is gonna be the captain, or the smuggler. And I think I'm gonna be like pretty damn biased here with the smuggler, because in the tournament I played the Daredevil version of the smuggler, and I loved the Daredevil version of the smuggler. It was like a lot of fun actually to play with this character. because she has like a relatively easy time getting that plus 12 agility. Well, relatively easy time, that's kind of like overstatement. She doesn't really have like a relatively easy time getting plus 12 agility, but there's a point to her getting that plus 12 agility, and that is to um yeah, get just like more dodge piercing, to get higher hit chance. It's just one of the skills he has. And that was like a lot of fun because you were also able to uh, combine it with like the quick swap, so you're just gonna be able to swap your weapon for 1 SP. That was pretty cool. So I haven't really played a lot of the ranged smugglers, and the thing is, I'm not sure if I would, if it's even worth playing a ranged smuggler for sisters. I suppose you could like make a sort of a ranged Punisher. I don't think it's worth it overall to play a ranged smuggler. I think you're just kind of better off playing a melee smuggler, specifically with sisters. Also, like another reason why I think that would be a good idea is because you are able to play a double swords smuggler plus 8% crit each of the swords, that adds up to plus 16%. So you can get like quite a lot of crit with the rest of the buffs. And in my opinion, I think the way people should be playing sisters, or what they're strong at, or what they naturally lean into, warming the enemy. But this is like a very specific Daredevil build. I don't know. I think there are like a lot of ways to play this smuggler. Oh, one of the builds that I also hypothesized with the smuggler was like this sort of a melee resistance smuggler slash dodge smuggler with bombs and stuff. That character was not very good. It wasn't very good at all. So I think I'm just gonna like put this sort of a smuggler to. I think I'm just gonna put smuggler into the good category. And I think that's fair. And the last character that we have is Wolf Priest. And I think like if you're gonna be playing a Wolf Priest with the sisters, I think it's a very good idea. And I think you should be playing specifically all the buffs which increase your crit chance, because you're gonna be combining it with the other spell of the sisters. So you're gonna have from all the spells for all of your warbands, hypothetically, plus 30% crit chance. And that has to crit eventually. I haven't played it in sisters, so this is just purely speculation or hypothetical, since the wolf priests were not allowed to be played. But I can also like see this as being like a pretty good support for the Maiden of Sigmar. Yeah, I think it's probably gonna be really good. Honestly, all things considered, if I imagine this in my head, I imagine it's gonna be really good. And that's about it for the sisters, I guess.